In my first life, I divorced my husband over his assistant and died ruined and alone. When I got a second chance, I gave her his hotel room number instead. I woke in the exact moment I had once destroyed my life. Linda, the young intern, was leaning toward my husband in the dressing room as if she meant to kiss him. When she saw me, she stumbled backward and dropped to her knees. "Mrs. Wyatt, please let me go. I can't afford to lose this job." Gideon barely looked embarrassed. He cast me a lazy glance. "What? The great heiress wants to divorce me over this?" In my previous life, I had screamed. I had shattered everything I could reach and demanded a divorce before either of them could offer another excuse. This time, I walked toward Linda and took her trembling hands. "Sweetheart, I'll be counting on you to take good care of him from now on. As long as he's happy, I'm fine with anything." The color drained from Gideon's face. "What did you just say?" I released Linda and turned to leave, but Gideon's fingers closed around my wrist. "Repeat it." Before I could answer, he began explaining that Linda was only his subordinate. A stain had gotten on his tie. She had been helping him change it when she lost her balance. "I know," I said. "I believe you." He stared at me as if I had spoken in another language. Linda started crying again. She begged me not to punish her and offered to let me yell at her or hit her. "Why would I?" I asked calmly. "You didn't do it on purpose." Her tears stopped. Gideon gave a low laugh. "This is getting boring." "What is?" "Playing hard to get." His mouth curved into a cruel smile. "For a second, I almost thought you didn't care. In my first life, I had cared far too much. Our marriage had started as a corporate arrangement, but Gideon and I had also grown up together. I loved him long before the contracts and wedding rings. That was why every small victory Linda stole felt unbearable. The first time I understood how dangerous she was, I brought Gideon medicine for his chronic gastritis. Linda found him holding me in his office, complaining about his stomach like a spoiled child. Days later, I found dried shrimp hidden in my lunch. I am severely allergic to seafood. The executive chef knew it. Security footage showed Linda lingering beside my lunchbox, though the pantry itself sat in a camera blind spot. I knew her mother needed surgery. Instead of publicly accusing her, I offered her a bank card to cover the medical costs and told her to resign quietly. That night, Gideon threw the same card onto our coffee table. "Linda clawed her way up from nothing," he said. "Even if you're jealous, you don't humiliate her with money." I showed him the footage. He refused to believe she had tried to hurt me. To punish me, he paid for her mother's surgery himself and promoted Linda to his personal executive assistant. After that, she was everywhere. He took her to an ice cream shop I had begged him to visit for months. He rode the Ferris wheel with her on her birthday. Sometimes I called my husband and Linda answered his phone. Once she purred that Gideon was changing clothes and offered to pass along my message. Minutes after I hung up, Gideon called back, not to explain why she was there, but to demand what I had said that made her cry. Whenever I objected, Gideon accused me of bullying a young woman and demanded that I trust him. Then, on our wedding anniversary, I caught her trying to kiss him. That was when I exploded in my first life. When I demanded the divorce, Gideon finally showed me what his protection had always cost. After my family went bankrupt, he had taken on millions in their debt. He warned me that if I left him, Wyatt Corp would blacklist me and no respectable company would dare hire me. Then he pulled me into his arms and kissed my wet eyelids as if the threat had been an act of love. "Stop making a fuss," he said. "Linda and I are clean. I'm not firing her. If you behave and stop acting paranoid, we can go back to how we were." I divorced him anyway. I left every dress and jewel he had bought me inside his mansion and walked away with nothing. Gideon kept his promise. No company would hire me. I delivered food in the rain, cleaned grease traps, and scrubbed public restrooms to survive. One wet night, my bicycle slid into the road. A car crushed me. I had been working in the rain because exhaustion and hunger were less humiliating than asking Gideon for help. By then, the woman who had once belonged in boardrooms and penthouses was carrying strangers' dinners through a storm. As I lay dying, a Maybach rolled past, its window lowered, and I saw Gideon beside Linda. He glanced once at my ruined body, then covered Linda's eyes. "Don't look," he told her gently. "It's gruesome." That was the last thing I heard. Some mistakes only needed to be made once. If Gideon wanted Linda, I would not fight him again. I would not destroy myself trying to prove that my own husband should choose me. The next day, I found Linda at Wyatt Corp. "You're going to Chicago with Gideon, aren't you?" I asked. Her eyes shifted. "Yes." I leaned closer. "His private suite is 1081. She stared at me. In my old life, I would have demanded separate hotels and hourly check-ins. Now I patted her shoulder. "I'm not coming. I won't call to check on him. What I said yesterday still stands. If Gideon has feelings for you, I couldn't stop him anyway." I even told her I had arranged things with the hotel staff and wished her an unforgettable night. Linda's shock told me she had expected another jealous scene. Instead, I had removed every obstacle she used to complain about. When I turned around, Gideon was standing behind me. "What were you whispering about?" "I asked her to take good care of you. She's giving up her weekend for the trip, so remember to pay her overtime." I expected him to appreciate having the reasonable wife he always claimed to want. Instead, he leaned against the doorframe and lit a cigarette. "This little show of getting along with Linda, is it for my benefit?" I almost laughed. "You always asked for freedom. I'm finally giving it to you." He watched me for a long moment. "This trick of yours is pathetic." Then he walked away, certain that my indifference was only another strategy to make him chase me. 3 nights later, I opened my social media feed. Linda's newest post was a dim photograph of 2 hands intertwined on white hotel sheets. The man's wrist bore Gideon's distinctive dark mole. In my first life, a photo like that had broken me. After our divorce, Linda made sure intimate pictures of them reached me. I called Gideon again and again until he finally answered. He told me I was interrupting him and his girlfriend. Then he said that if I wanted him back, I could get in line to become his mistress. That humiliation began the sleepless spiral that ended with my death. But this time, I had delivered Linda directly to suite 1081. I looked at the intertwined hands for another second, set my phone on the nightstand, and went to sleep. The phone woke me later with a violent ring. "Gideon, were you asleep?" he asked. His voice sounded rough. "Is there an emergency?" He hesitated. "Did you check your social media feed tonight?" I knew exactly which post he meant, but I told him no. "You always scroll before bed," he said. I was tired. Silence stretched between us. Finally, he said, "Linda somehow entered my private suite tonight. I did not ask what she wore, what happened between them, or why his wrist had appeared in her photograph. She must have confused the room numbers." I said, "Poor thing. Make sure you comfort her." His breathing grew heavier. "Was that all?" I asked. He said nothing. The old me would have demanded answers. She She would have booked the next flight to Chicago and stood outside his door before sunrise. I only wanted to return to sleep. Gideon, if there's something you want me to say, tell me and I'll say it. Otherwise, I'm hanging up. Another silence. I ended the call before he could decide what reaction he wanted from me. Only days earlier, he had called my indifference a pathetic trick. Now he had to decide what to do with a wife who no longer asked him to come home.
Gideon called again the next morning, then again at lunch, then 6 more times before dinner. I ignored every call. By midnight, he was at my apartment. I opened the door in pajamas, holding a bowl of cereal. Gideon looked furious. Why haven't you answered me? I blinked. You said I was interrupting you. That was before. Before what? His jaw tightened. Before Linda. I smiled faintly. How's she? That question made him visibly uncomfortable. She left the hotel. Oh, she didn't stay. I took another bite of cereal. That's unfortunate. His expression darkened. You knew something was going to happen. I gave her your room number. You told me she was trustworthy. I never said she was. You promoted her. I didn't expect her to actually go there. I stared at him. For once, Gideon seemed to realize exactly how ridiculous he sounded. He dragged a hand through his hair. She showed up without permission. She took that photograph herself. Then she posted it. And everyone thinks we slept together. I shrugged. Then tell everyone the truth. His eyes narrowed. You don't care? No, not even a little? Gideon, you spent years teaching me that trust meant believing you no matter what happened in front of my eyes. I opened the door wider. So I'm trusting you. His face changed. He suddenly looked less angry and more unsettled. Are you trying to punish me? No. Then why are you acting like this? Because I'm done punishing myself. That silenced him. I closed the door. The next morning, I received a message from Linda. Mrs. Wyatt, please don't misunderstand what happened. I deleted it. Another message appeared. I know you're angry. Please give me a chance to explain. Deleted. Then came a photograph. I almost ignored it. Instead, curiosity won. It wasn't another picture of Gideon. It was a screenshot of a hotel security report. Linda had entered suite 1081 at 11:47 p.m. Gideon had entered at 11:51. He had left at 12:03. Linda had left at 12:06. 3 minutes apart. Then I noticed something stranger. The report showed another person entering the suite before both of them. A man. At 11:32. His name had been blacked out. I enlarged the screenshot. Linda sent another message. I didn't take the photograph. Someone else did. My smile disappeared. For the first time since my rebirth, something didn't fit. I called her. She answered immediately. Mrs. Wyatt? Who is the man? She went quiet. What man? The one who entered Gideon's suite 15 minutes before you. Her breathing changed. You saw that. Answer me. I don't know his name. Then why were you there? I was sent there. By whom? Linda started crying. I thought Mr. Wyatt wanted me there. My fingers tightened around the phone. Who told you? She whispered a name. Gideon's secretary. I froze. His secretary had worked for the Wyatt family for 23 years. And in my previous life, she had been the person who delivered every piece of evidence against Linda to me. I had always assumed she hated Linda. Now I wondered if she had been feeding me exactly what someone wanted me to see. Send me everything, I said. What? Every message. Every call. Every photograph. Everything. Linda hesitated. Why? Because I think someone wanted Gideon and me to destroy each other. I hung up. Then I opened my laptop and searched the hotel report again. The blacked out name wasn't completely hidden. Someone had tried to erase it. But the reflection from the scanner had left enough letters visible. 3 letters. Van. My blood ran cold. There was only one person in Gideon's inner circle whose name began with those letters. Marcus Vance. Gideon's uncle. The man who had spent years telling me I was ruining Gideon's life. The man who had encouraged Gideon to divorce me after Wyatt Corp began struggling. And the same man who, in my previous life, had bought controlling shares of Wyatt Corp only 6 months after Gideon's marriage collapsed. I leaned back slowly. My death had never been an accident in the grand scheme of things. Gideon hadn't merely lost his wife. He had lost control of his company. And someone had profited from both. I smiled. Well, Marcus. I closed the laptop. You picked the wrong woman to manipulate twice. I didn't confront Marcus. That would have been exactly what he expected. Instead, I called my family's former lawyer. Mr. Hale, I need you to investigate something for me. He laughed softly. I haven't heard from you since your divorce. I know. Is Gideon causing trouble? Not yet. I gave him Marcus's name and asked him to quietly investigate every company that had purchased Wyatt Corp shares during the 6 months surrounding my divorce. 3 hours later, he called. You're going to want to sit down. I'd rather stand. There were several shell companies. Whose? We can't prove ownership yet. Can you prove connections? He paused. Yes. My grip tightened around the phone. Tell me. Every company traces back to the same investment fund. Marcus? No. My stomach dropped. Then who? Gideon Wyatt. I went completely still. That makes no sense. It does if he planned for Wyatt Corp to collapse. I stared at the city through my window. Gideon had threatened to destroy my career if I left him. He had made sure I walked away with nothing. He had watched me become poor. And somehow, his own company had ended up in financial trouble soon afterward. I remembered his face when I signed the divorce papers. He hadn't looked heartbroken. He had looked relieved. My lawyer continued. There's more. What? Someone transferred a large amount of money into an account under Linda's name 2 weeks before your divorce. My eyes narrowed. How much? $8 million. I laughed once. $8 million. Linda had supposedly been struggling to pay for her mother's surgery. Gideon had supposedly rescued her. But $8 million didn't look like charity. It looked like payment. I hung up and called Linda. She answered on the first ring. Mrs. Wyatt? Did Gideon ever give you money? Silence. Linda. He paid my mother's hospital bill. How much? I don't know. $8 million? Her breathing stopped. I never received that. Then someone used your name. She whispered. What does that mean? It means you've been framed too. Another silence. Then Linda said something that made my blood run cold. Mrs. Wyatt, there's something else. What? The night of the hotel incident, Gideon wasn't supposed to be there. I frowned. Then why did he go? Because I called him. Why? Someone sent me a message saying you had arranged for him to meet another woman in suite 1081. My heart began pounding. Who sent it? I thought it was you. I never contacted you. I know that now. I closed my eyes. Someone had sent Linda to the room. Someone had sent Gideon there. Someone had planted the photograph. Someone had made sure I would see it. And someone had been doing the same thing years ago. My divorce hadn't been a love triangle. It had been a setup. I stood and grabbed my coat. Where are you going? Linda asked. To see my husband. You're going to confront him? No. I smiled. I'm going to ask him one question. I found Gideon at Wyatt Corp. His secretary tried to stop me. Mrs. Wyatt, Mr. Wyatt, is in a meeting. I don't care. I pushed open the conference room door. Everyone turned. Gideon looked stunned. Why are you here? I placed a folder on the table. Tell me about the $8 million. His face changed. Marcus, sitting at the opposite end of the table, slowly lowered his coffee. That tiny movement told me everything. He was afraid. I smiled. Interesting. Gideon stood. Leave. No. You don't understand what you're talking about. I understand perfectly. I turned toward Marcus. Your nephew paid Linda $8 million using shell companies connected to Wyatt Corporation. Marcus's cup slipped from his hand. It shattered against the floor. Gideon stared at him. Uncle? Marcus said nothing. I looked at Gideon. Now tell me why your own money was used to make your assistant look like your mistress. Gideon went pale. Because he didn't know. And suddenly, neither did I. Someone had manipulated both of us. But the real question was, who was powerful enough to manipulate Gideon Wyatt? Then the conference room doors opened. A man walked in carrying a black briefcase. Gideon's expression changed completely. That's impossible. The man smiled. I was wondering when you'd finally figure it out. He looked directly at me. Mrs. Wyatt. I recognized him immediately. He had been the driver of the Maybach that passed me on the night I died. And in my previous life, I had never learned his name. He placed the briefcase on the table. I believe you deserve to know why you were killed. I stared at the man. You were there that night. He nodded. I saw you. Gideon stepped forward. Who the hell are you? The man opened the briefcase. Photographs spilled across the table. My divorce. Linda entering Gideon's office. The hotel. Marcus meeting strangers. And finally, photographs of me on the night I died. My crushed bicycle. My body on the road. Gideon covering Linda's eyes. I felt sick. You photographed me? I was hired to watch you. By whom? He looked at Gideon. Your husband. The room went dead quiet. Gideon staggered backward. What? The man continued. Mr. Wyatt knew your divorce would destroy Wyatt Corporation. He also knew you would leave with enough information to expose several illegal transactions. I looked at Gideon. You knew. I didn't know about the accident. His voice cracked. I hired him to protect you. I laughed bitterly. Protect me? You were being followed. Someone wanted you dead. Then why did you let me leave with nothing? Because I thought forcing you away from the company would keep you safe. I stared at him. All those threats. I was trying to scare you into staying away from Wyatt Corporation. And you let me believe you'd destroy my life? His face twisted. I thought you'd hate me enough to leave. I shook my head. That was your plan? He had protected me so badly that I died believing he wanted me ruined. Then Marcus suddenly bolted for the door. I pointed. Stop him. Security grabbed him before he reached the hallway. Marcus fought violently. You stupid girl. You should have died. Everyone froze. Gideon's face turned murderous. What did you just say? Marcus realized his mistake. Too late. I walked toward him. You knew about the accident. He said nothing. You knew I was being watched. Still nothing. You arranged the hotel photograph. His silence confirmed it. Gideon grabbed him by the collar. You tried to kill my wife? Marcus laughed. She was going to expose everything. Everything. I opened the folder. Your embezzlement. The shell companies. The fake debts. The shares you secretly bought after my divorce. Marcus's smile vanished. I know everything. Police entered seconds later. Marcus was arrested before he could run. Linda was cleared after investigators traced the fake account and messages. And Gideon? He stood in front of me after everyone left. I don't expect you to forgive me. Good. I'll spend the rest of my life fixing this. You can start by signing these. I handed him divorce papers. His face crumpled. You still want a divorce? Yes. Even after everything? I smiled. I died once because I stayed. I walked past him. This time, I'm choosing myself while I'm still alive. 3 months later, Marcus was facing decades in prison. Wyatt Corp survived. Linda resigned and opened a small design company using money she earned honestly. As for Gideon, he never remarried. He donated the mansion where we'd lived to charity and moved into a modest apartment. Sometimes he'd send me messages. I never answered. I had spent one lifetime begging a man to choose me. I wasn't wasting my second one waiting for him. I bought back my family's old company. Then I walked into the first board meeting as its new chairwoman. The room erupted in applause. I smiled. This time, nobody could take my life from me. And nobody ever would. For years later, Marcus Vance was still in prison. His lawyers had tried everything. They failed. Every company he'd built was seized, his accounts were frozen, and the people who once called him family stopped answering his calls. But Gideon's punishment was quieter. Wyatt Corp survived, but it never returned to its former glory. Gideon sold most of his personal assets to repay the money lost during Marcus's scheme. The mansion disappeared. The cars disappeared. The private jet disappeared. Even the penthouse where Linda had once dreamed of becoming Mrs. Wyatt was sold at auction. Gideon kept one apartment, one car, one office. That was it. The man who had once threatened to make me unemployable now had to ask permission from the board before spending company money. Linda had her own ending. After everything came out, she publicly admitted that she'd been manipulated. She apologized to me. I accepted the apology. We never became friends. She eventually married a normal man, opened her own clothing brand, and stayed far away from wealthy families. As for Gideon, he never stopped watching my success from a distance. My company became bigger than Wyatt Corp. Then I bought one of its subsidiaries. The board meeting where the acquisition was approved was held in the same hotel where Linda had once photographed herself in Gideon's bed. I walked into the room wearing a white suit. Gideon was sitting across the table. He looked older, tired, human. He stared at the contract. You planned this? I smiled. No. I signed my name. I just became successful. His fingers tightened around his pen. After the meeting, he followed me into the hallway. Are you happy? I looked at him. Very. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't divorced me? Sometimes. His eyes brightened. I smiled. Then I remember I died. That destroyed whatever hope remained in his expression. He nodded slowly. I deserved that. Yes. I walked away. I didn't need revenge anymore. His empty mansion, shrinking company, ruined reputation, and lonely nights were simply the consequences of the life he'd chosen. And me? I had everything he once convinced me I couldn't have without him. Money, power, freedom, and most importantly, a life that belonged entirely to me. I never looked back. Because the greatest revenge wasn't watching Gideon lose everything. It was living so well that his absence stopped mattering.